A fellow YouTuber going by the name of Moni Madness inspired today's video. Go check out her channel. There will be a link to the original video in the pinned comment and description. So tell her I said hi and that I sent you. So let's get into the subject matter, what you're here for. Has Xion seen Ventus or the Chamber of Awakening? This all starts from the cutscene in day 321 in which Xion queries Axel about a boy that looks just like Roxas. Well, let's compare. By day 321, it can be presumed that Sora may look more like his KH self or probably like his KH2 self. So we're going to, of course, compare Roxas's likeness to both of those two designs. Although the side games constantly fucking use the KH1 model for some reason. So if Xion had seen Sora, a comparison of these two characters for all intents and purposes will show to you that these characters do not look that much alike. But then with the context of Xion's words, this boy supposedly looks just like Roxas. See, and that's the problem I have with the consensus that I found when I looked into the threads about this scene. Everyone just believes this is about Roxas for no reason. Closest I get that why people would think this is Sora is that he's brought up in the scene right after. But even after being brought up, we learn explicitly that Riku had no intentions of showing or informing Xion of Sora's whereabouts. So why would he then magically just bring her to see him? And once she had this information, I think it would be pivotal to protect her from literally letting Axel just fucking take her back to the Organization 13. So from a writing standpoint, this makes no sense in my personal opinion. But then again, the timing of events also makes no sense. Xion had been seeing Sora and Kairi in flashbacks and dreams for a while. Why would she let at least 100 days go by before stressing the issue to Axel? Why does the time period keep jumping around when this scene finally does occur? I had a discussion before making this video on Twitter that got me looking into old interviews from Nomura about days in which he explains how Sora got to the mansion in Twilight Town. He says that during day 297, Roxas faint because Sora had been there, and of course Ventus was there sleeping. Him feeling their presence is what made him faint. Now that's not verbatim what he says, but note that's what I did pull exactly from what he says is that he said that Sora had been there. That means it was past tense. So with it being past tense, well, Xion only meets Naminé all the way in day 356, a whopping 35 days later to when this question was initially asked, with Roxas going to Castle Oblivion during day 297, and he had already been there in past tense that far back. So if Sora was no longer there by day 297 and Xion had only been to the mansion as early as 356, then this leaves one possibility: when she was on the computer in Castle Oblivion. That's the only possibility we could have seen Xion actually, or the only possibility we could have seen. The only possibility that Xion could have actually seen Sora on the computer. Either she saw him through some type of course, records, which we know that, of course, the computer she was on does hold records because she was able to find out about herself and her origins through that computer. So with that being the case, of course, then we can probably say that she probably saw Sora through that computer, and this question is more than likely being asked probably right after, of course, her time in Castle Oblivion. So if things are not as clear cut when we look into the evidence, the dates, the weird time jumps within literally one cutscene that leaves us with many fragments of multiple points in time, and seeing as she says it was on that specific day, then I have to say in my personal opinion, Xion saw none other than Ventus. And I make that claim with one detail I purposefully skipped to mention, and that was Xigbar. As you know, Xigbar, Xion, and Xemnas all have a connection to Ventus. And in Kingdom Hearts 2, we see Xigbar telling Xion about the Chamber of Waking, the room where none other than Ventus resides before the events of Chain of Memories. I think it's easy to tell where Xigbar's interest was when the organization had bodies on deck within the castle. So why is he then here? More than likely because he wants to know where this character is, just as, of course, Xehanort does in 0.2, Xemnas does in Days and Kingdom Hearts 2, and just as Sykes reveals in Days to Axel that there's a secret agenda to finding this room when he goes on the mission to Castle Oblivion to get rid of all of the traitors. To wrap this up, I want to say that I think the idea of it just flat out being Sora was going to be a subversion of expectations. The practice of building up a plot line to an obvious conclusion or climax, then going, ha, that's not where it was actually going in anyway. So it's kind of like, a subversion of what you thought was going to happen, and it kind of makes it obvious, and then the obvious conclusion isn't exactly what it's going to be. And that's what a subversion of expectations, I guess you could say, is, and I think that that's what was going to happen. The most recent example of this that I can pretty much give you is what we know is going to happen to Aqua now in Kingdom Hearts 3 after the E3 trailers, in which we find out that she's going to be a Xehanort. That's a subversion of expectations because for the longest time, especially over, of course, the past 5 years, all of us have been pretty much, trying to speculate on how they will get Aqua, how they will go to, of course, Castle Oblivion and get Ventus. But of course, we know with her being a 13 Seeker of Darkness, more than likely now what we're going to be getting is what was essentially kind of hinted at with the 2013 trailer, in which Sora finds the Master Defender on Destiny Island. Although it may not work in that exact same way, some things could have been changed around. Maybe they won't find it on Destiny Islands. Maybe the Keyblade will mysteriously just be floating through space, or maybe the Keyblade will pop up at Yin Sid's place, or maybe it will be on the Destiny Islands. But from as far as we know, we do know that Sora will actually be going to Olympus and Twilight Town before the plot of the worlds even start. Before the plot of the game even starts, because of course Twilight Town has already been revealed to be the tutorial stage. So with that being the case, of course, obviously we can't be going through the plot while we're just now getting the tutorial. And then when he first goes to Olympus, that's going to be to pretty much gain some of his power back by getting close to Hercules and finding out, of course, whatever he did to get his power back. So definitely, it does seem like there's going to be a subversion of expectations there, or as a matter of fact, we know that there's a subversion of expectations, because once again, the expectation was that Riku and Mickey would save Aqua, and then they would go to Castle Oblivion and get Ventus. However, with them finally finding Aqua, they find out that she's already a member of the 13 Seekers, or at least she has Xehanort's heart within her, and that's an example of a subversion of expectations. And I feel like this is probably going to lead to a future cutscene in which, of course, if Xion does in fact return during the run of Kingdom Hearts 3's actual story, then she'll probably say something about Roxas and Ventus, in which she'll probably be like, see, he looks just like you, and he'll probably be like, what? And then she'll be like, oh wait, I only told that to Axel, or something like that. I feel like something like that will probably happen if Tetsuya Nomura does keep it in mind, and that'll reveal that, of course, she was in fact talking about Ventus, because she did go through the records of the Castle Oblivion through the computer that she was on. And I know it isn't exactly a computer. It looks more so like a crystal ball that kind of reveals information. But of course, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a computer because it's fucking Kingdom Hearts. It could just be a computer. So I think that's the closest we'll get to, of course, any kind of like crystal ball type of situation. But I think that's what it is. I think she did actually see the records through that, and then of course she probably came across the Chamber of Awakening, and that's the only dude that looks exactly like Roxas, Ventus himself. And that's exactly how she kind of puts it when she says a boy that looks just like Roxas. We know that Sora doesn't look just like Roxas. They don't look alike. So definitely I feel like it was Roxas. But let me know what you guys, Ventus. But let me know what you guys think about this topic. Definitely Moni Madness, thank you for the topic of this video. Your original video was great. I loved it, and it just made me look into it a lot more, and it's kind of the same reason why I used to do like my theories and stuff. It was a reason for people to get excited and look into the series and reflect and tell me what they thought about my thoughts. And what you did pretty much is what I always love to do with my own videos, and that's get people to think and actually talk about it more and actually look into more of the details of the story. So thank you for your video, and of course giving me this topic today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button. Again, go check out Moni Madness's channel, and of course follow me on Twitter at AmaziahYT. Links in the description and pinned comment to all of those, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace the heck. So while doing some final touches for the editing of this video, I came across another piece of information from Tetsuya Nomura that apparently comes from the 305 Days Over 2 Ultimania that I didn't come across while originally recording the video. So this is something that I wanted to add on, in which Tetsuya Nomura would actually talk about Xigbar and the whole situation that I mentioned at the end of course, the original video. So what is essentially said here is that Xigbar wasn't told about it, but he seems to have found out on his own. And what they're talking about here is the whole Room of Awakening and of course the Chamber of Awakening, whichever one you want to call it. That's essentially what Tetsuya Nomura, I guess you could say, is being asked or of course queried about. And what he says here is exactly what I was saying. Nomura says even in Final Mix, Xigbar was probing Xion about the Room of Awakening. He was investigating various things on his own. He will be talked about again in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, in which of course, as we know nowadays, that the reason why he will be talked about again is because he was there during the events of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which was our initial introduction to Ventus. And as you can see here, it says that he didn't know about the Room of Awakening, which would kind of make sense that he would be sneaking around listening to Xion express to Axel about a boy that looks just like Roxas. So take that as you will, say that I'm probably stretching it, but right here he's confirming that Xigbar found out some information through his own little investigations. And of course the question or whatever that's being asked of Tetsuya Nomura is that Xigbar had no information on, of course, the Room of Awakening. He just wound up finding out about it. And by the time Kingdom Hearts 2 rolls around, or 2 Final Mix rolls around, before, of course, Xion or Xion actually meets his demise, then, of course, we know that Xigbar probes him. According to Tetsuya Nomura, and of course you can see this within the scene yourself, he probes him about the Room of Awakening, which is the room that Ventus sleeps in. How did he get that information? More than likely, this was the start of it. So, thank you guys for tuning into the video once again. This has been your boy Amaziah, and peace the heck out.